About a year ago, I was spending the day with one of my friends. We spent the whole day together, getting food, sledding, since it was December, the whole thing. It was getting to be late, maybe 6 or 7 in the afternoon, and it was time for me to drop my friend off at her house. She had a small playground in her neighborhood. It was only about a 3-minute drive from her house. It was actually on the way there. Last minute, we decided to pull into the park. We were already smoking, so we planned to go outside to the swing set and smoke, just for a change in scenery. Just to know we live in the mountains, and then her house was up in the middle of the forest. All of our houses are if you live up in the mountains. This park was directly off the main neighborhood road. The parking lot was in front of the playground, my car facing the park. On the right, there was an open area with a few benches and tables for picnics. The small playground was on the right, complete with a swing, monkey bars, and a swing set with 3 or 4 swings on it. This entire park was built on the side of a hill, the hill inclining past the playground and the open area about 50 feet before turning into a dense forest again. I turned my car off, we gathered our smoking supplies, and started heading to the swing set. I was parked near the middle of the small dirt lot that was in front of the park. I waited for my friend to come around the car from the passenger seat, then locked my car. We're outside now, and almost as soon as my friend came around to my side, I hear crunching and look behind me to the road. There was an old man walking at night. It was late, and there were no streetlights because it is the mountains, so it was pitch black outside. This man was skinny, and didn't even look up at us as he walked by. Now this guy was weird, completely out of place. He had no dog, so he wanted to walk alone at night. He had no flashlight. He was literally walking in the pitch black darkness. The only way we could see him was from the moonlight. The strangest part about him, though, is that he had a war helmet on, like a helmet that a Vietnam soldier would have worn. It was complete with patches and accessories. He was walking alone, in the dark, with a war helmet on. My friend and I looked at each other weird, acknowledging the strange man walking in the dark. We only have about 3 seconds to process this, though, because now we heard very fast footsteps. It wasn't the man. We could see the man. The footsteps this time were coming from the other side of my car, the passenger side of my car. It was a lady, and she was making a full-on sprint directly into the forest behind the park. She hopped over the low-hanging chain-link fence at the front of the park and continued to sprint into the forest. This woman had an iPhone, and she was using the flashlight to guide her way, but this was still so strange for so late at night. There was no trail in the forest either. She was just making her way through. This unexpected turn of events made my friend and I laugh out loud. It was so random, with so many things happening at once. We had no ill intent. We thought we'd just laugh and carry along to the swings. The lady that was running up the forest apparently hears us, though, because she stops a few feet into the forest and starts yelling at us. At this point, I unlock my car and we get in, then lock the doors again behind us. She gets to the bottom of the hill and comes up to my passenger seat car. She starts screaming on and on about how dumb our tourists are and how inconsiderate and mean we are. She starts hitting my passenger seat window. That's when my friend pulled out her phone to start recording her. So do I. Once this lady sees the flashes on our phones, though, her whole demeanor changes. She starts telling us to have a good night and get home safe. We didn't want to deal with any of it anymore, so we just pulled out and started heading to my friend's house. Because she came so close to my car, I could actually see what she was wearing, what she looked like. That was the weirdest and creepiest part about her. She had on slippers, like the ones you would use as house slippers. She had nothing else but leggings and a loose woven sweater on, with her hair in a low, messy ponytail, and her iPhone up for flashlight. It was December. No jacket, no gloves, no hat, no real shoes. There was still snow on the ground in the park. Furthermore, it was nighttime in the mountains. It was dark and it had to be 25 degrees Fahrenheit at the warmest up there. If this woman was actually intending to take a hike in the woods at night, I mean, I don't judge, but she wasn't prepared. And where was she going? Where'd she come from? There was no car parked except for mine. So this lady came running from the neighborhood? And what was waiting for her in the dense forest behind the park? She seemed like she knew where she was going. She wasn't running aimlessly. She made a beeline for the forest. I just can't wrap my head around this woman's behavior. Why would she be there in the first place? I dropped my friend off and thought about the lady my entire drive home. I guess it was just a very eerie night. I still can't explain either of the people I saw. This was a small event that took place last summer in my home of Staten Island. I live in a community with a bunch of parks and a pool in the center of it all. I was going to meet a friend to smoke, then take my girlfriend at the time out for lunch, so I decided to post myself on one of the park's many concrete garbage pail covers. I look at my surroundings, and I noticed a small boy and a man old enough to be his grandpa. I felt something was wrong. I come from a family of cops, so my blue blood is kicking in. My eyes were fixed on the man. 6'1", brown eyes, fair skin, salt and pepper hair that was thinning, and a red and blue tablecloth button-up shirt. My gut told me to watch him, so I did. The entrance to the playground was adjacent to me on the left side. The man and the child were making the right turn to come to the entrance as I lit my smoke. I noticed the distance between them. The kid didn't even acknowledge this man. This is where it hits me. The kid runs in the playground and the man keeps walking past the entrance. I broke sight to watch the kid run in, but when I returned to the man, he was looking at me. My gut feeling. The sense of a predator as we locked. He smiled the biggest shit-eating grin, like a malicious child with his hand in the cookie jar. He began to make an exit out of the park, which is adjacent of me on the right side. I ran to the kid and politely asked him, "Hey buddy, do you know that man in the red and blue shirt?" The young man shook his head no. I realized that I may have prevented this child abduction. I spread the news about this man through the neighborhood like bad gossip. Since I've moved away, I still remember that wide smile. I just hope that creep hasn't taken anyone. When I was 14 years old, I spent a lot of time at a particular friend's house. Jennifer lived on a long, stretched out dirt road in the woods with only a few neighbors spaced out far away from each other. The main road that Jennifer's neighborhood was on had another neighborhood just across from hers. This neighborhood was a pretty large subdivision with a lot of kids that we knew, so we visited it pretty often during the summer to hang out at the pool and playground. Me and my friends started getting pretty rebellious, so late at night when Jennifer's parents fell asleep, we'd sneak out of the back door and walk to the lake. Once we got brave enough, we walked to the neighborhood across the street, walking the main road. We did this a few times together, and one night we brought along another friend. Me, Jennifer, and Amber walked down the road and on our way to the neighborhood playground. Walking through the subdivision, we were noisy, laughing and shushing each other. We made it to the playground around 1 to 2 in the morning and swung on the swings, talking to each other. It's important that I stress that at this time, our parents warned us about a man that was abducting young girls our age early in the morning from bus stops. The investigation was ongoing, so children were being warned to be careful, and if we saw anyone suspicious to tell someone. As Jennifer and Amber continued talking to each other, I was getting a little nervous about being out so late, thinking about the walk back home. I started to calm down and take a look at our surroundings. Across from us on the swings were 3 small trees grown in a row with about 5 feet of space between them. The streetlights still illuminated the whole neighborhood and park enough to see what was going on around us. As I had my attention on that direction, the silhouette of a very tall man begins walking behind each tree. I can only assume it's to get a better view of us, and that if this person knew the playground wouldn't be empty this late at night, they would have to have been watching us on previous nights when we'd visited, or they'd begun following us at some point on our way. After clearly seeing the man, I whispered to my friends that we needed to go and that it was getting late. Thankfully, neither of them protested. The tension of knowing that we weren't alone was heavy, and all of us grew uncomfortable, even though I had been the only one to see that someone was with us. We paced home, and on the way out of the subdivision, I had told them what I had seen and why we needed to hurry home. We ran back down the road and through Jennifer's neighborhood for our lives. Needless to say, we learned our lesson and never snuck out on foot ever again. I'm grateful I noticed, and can only hope that his intentions was only to watch. As a single father, I reside with my 5-year-old son, and in our backyard, there's an old wooden play structure. It features a tire swing, monkey bars, and a large slide. Lately, I've noticed some unusual sounds coming from the playground during the night. Let me recount what happened the first night. A week ago, I woke up in the middle of the night to the sound of a creaking noise from outside. I quickly identified it as the rusty chain of the tire swing rotating. In addition, I heard the laughter of a young child, which I assumed was my son. Worried, I went to his room to check on him, only to find him sound asleep in his bed. My heart sank in the sight, realizing that there was an unknown person in our yard. However, when I opened the back door to investigate the backyard, there was no one there. The tire swing was gently spinning, as if someone had just vacated it. Deciding that it was probably just a kid trespassing in my yard, I shrugged it off and went back to sleep. On the following night, I was awoken to the sound of stomping on the slide and the laughter of a child. I checked my son's room and found him fast asleep in bed. This time, I decided to be more cautious and looked out the window before venturing outside. There was nothing visible, at least not on the playground. Despite this, I went outside to double check. I remained still, shocked for a moment, before gathering the courage to peek outside. The misty window revealed both swings on the swing set gently swaying, accompanied by a child's laughter once more. I remained still, shocked for a moment, before gathering the courage to peek outside. The misty window revealed both swings on the swing set gently swaying, accompanied by a child's laughter once more. I sprinted down the stairs and out the back door, expecting to find mischievous children at play, but instead, I was confronted by an imposing figure standing at the top of the playground. The sight drained my bravery, and I turned to flee back inside, locking the door and dialing 911. The agonizing 20-minute wait for an officer to arrive felt like an eternity. By the time they arrived, the mysterious figure had vanished. They took down the limited information I could provide and departed. I wish I could say that was the last strange event, but just last night, there was another knock at my window. This time, I chose to ignore it, as I dread going to sleep tonight. I'm considering installing security cameras onto my property. Regardless, I'll provide an update on the situation as it unfolds.